What's up, nerds?
Wasn't me, I didn't say it, so. All right, here we go. Let's talk about what y'all read last night, which was what I already gave y'all my thoughts about. What I want to open up today with is I am free for critique.
Oh.
What y'all read last night, I want y'all to rip apart my opinion. If you want to, if you're brave enough. No, I'm not going to be like, I'm not defending my, whatever you want to call it. I really want to know, because I'm not going to always give it to you that way, where I go into a story first, and I give you this redemptive thing I see, these similarities that I see, and I break it down for the way that because is that the way I want y'all to take it only? It's really, really not. I said it many, many times as I was giving it to you yesterday. It's just what's flying into my head as I'm reading. Because I'm asking the Lord to be with me as I'm reading these things, especially when they're this dark. Why did this human, and this group of humans, this civilization, think about the divine like this? And where are you in this? Why does that matter? I'm a spiritual person. I'm a physical person. I understand the images of pain, the ripping, the blood, the inability to talk, the nightmarish scene of that. We've had nightmares like that. Why does it end as a nightmare? Why does it end in this horrible ridicule where the gods, this debate that I have up here, where the gods literally can't come to an answer of what happened? All right? And then we have even worse stuff that's going to carry. Why is this? So that was my take. And I know that I've practiced talking like this. So it's going to sound like I have the last say. I do not have the last say. This is mythology. It's not an answerable topic. It is all of humanity. So I'm not the answer. But us talking about it is truly being a part of it the way that we're supposed to, because that's what it was meant to be. All right? So, what are some thoughts? If we just have a couple, that's fine. But I just really think that I went deep, and I wonder if any of you guys want to be like, yo, Mr. Yuri. All right? What's up?
Hey, so one thing that
Hey, I'm Leah.
Hey, I'm Leah. What's up?
Let's go.
One thing that I thought kind of like differently than like how you thought of things was the concept of like the only way to keep holiness holy is by purging whatever is unholy, right? And like in the sense that we're talking about Diana/Artemis with, how do you pronounce the other guys? Actaeon?
Actaeon, yeah.
There we go. I really thought that, like, analyzing just the whole pantheon and whatnot, the feeling of like their holiness in a way is like true. It can be physical, like the way that Zeus is high and holy because of his position. That's something physically representing his holiness. And then sort of like their standards in holiness, what they uphold, like when he decided that the one thing in the Arcadian household was like they didn't have hospitality, that like something he couldn't stand, right? So I tried thinking about other gods, like what is one thing that they cannot stand, that they cannot tolerate? And in that sense, like that sort of applied to Diana in this situation. But at the same time, we see many cases, trying to think of a specific example, but where like gods don't uphold that like standard of what is meant to be their like part of holiness. And the difference between like this concept of Greek holiness and the Christianity holiness is that Christianity is pure. The standard is held and it is firm and it is unchanging. Whereas, I feel like sometimes because the Greek
let me just for a second, keep where you're going. Are you talking because of Yahweh's holiness? Or are you talking because of Christian holiness?
No, like Yahweh.
Yahweh's holiness. Okay,
right.
Good, just want to hear.
Because, he's like the God.
Okay.
And, we're talking about like the gods in the Greek pantheon. And so, where was I going? Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. You were talking about such good stuff, dude. You went through the pantheon, you were monitoring their levels of...
They're so emotional, and they are imperfect. So it's just weird that it's so odd to me as like comparing it to Christianity and the holy Yahweh, that their sense of holiness means that they can be holy but they can be imperfect. And that's something that like really differed for me. And I was like, hey, they're like holy but imperfect, and they have like their own standards, and they are like subjective. They do things based off of emotion.
Yep.
based off of every single one
Yep.
of these gods and what they do. Yeah.
That's really good. Some of the ways that scholars talk about the stories of the gods is they don't say it like this, but they basically are saying like the gods are human emotion turned to level 11. Like they're the only ones that can go that heavy on the human emotion, and it's their power in that moment that just keeps people away from calling them out for their stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody can come up past them. There is a little bit of a hierarchy of the gods sometimes, and we can monitor that as we go. But that's an interesting thing. Like there's nobody really, in all of their freakouts and their heightened emotion, there's nobody really to punish them.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, that's where we start right here. That's where this one starts right here. The very next thing that Juno says is about that. So this is interesting. You've got the leading idea. Anybody else have anything else? Yeah.
I was like reading some of the stuff about when he first sees, I guess, yeah, when he sees Diana, just kind of like this imagery, I felt like of the Garden of Eden, where it's like they're in this like sacred garden, and then he gets this knowledge of seeing her, and then the line of him being covered with, this says covered his body with a dappled hide, it reminds me of when God clothes them with animal skin, of like, instead of it being like other clothes, it's the animal skin, and then it says, and then she added fear, which I thought was a weird line, but I felt like that was similar to like the fear of death that they gained when they
In Actaeon?
Mhm.
Dude.
When they got from the tree of knowledge of good.
Dude. Because what happened there was he was with her at like a immediate level. Like honestly at like a more vulnerable level. So he saw something that he wasn't supposed to. And like how the Garden of Eden, the knowledge of good and evil is something that God is supposed to know. And his knowledge of that is directly in line with us. We walk and talk with him and his knowledge of good and evil. But then that's what the snake says in the Garden of Eden too, is like, you'll actually be like God. He's not lying when he says that. What he's saying when he says that is like, you will be exposed to the same ability as a God. Man, that's interesting, Lydia.
I thought that the line of like she added fear was a really interesting one.
Yeah, that is a really interesting, the fear. Because we can talk about that even in like Christianese. That's like fear of God. Like that kind of thing. It's interesting. That's a really good point. Anybody else have anything?
I thought that like when you were saying that when she splashed up
Yes.
the water.
Yes.
You were saying that like it reminded you of like baptism.
Yeah.
I thought that was weird because she was like doing it like she was like trying to like get him away from
Yes.
her.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just like didn't remind me of baptism like at all.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like she wasn't doing it and like you're like, I'm a god, I'm splashing water on you. Like she's like, oh my god, I'm naked.
Be clean.
Yeah. She's like, oh my god, I'm naked. Like get
Yes.
away from me.
Yeah.
So it was more like she would have shot him with her arrow if she could have.
Yes.
So I felt like her saying like, oh, I wish I had my bow and arrow right now so I could shoot you. Like that doesn't really in my head like compare to baptism.
100%.
Because she was using the water like.
But I feel like in my mind, I feel like that makes it more similar to baptism. The fact that she mentions that she wishes she had her bow and arrow because she was trying to like kill him and like cleanse him of what he saw. Like by killing him, I feel like the baptism is similar to that. She's trying to.
Yeah, that is.
If she couldn't
That's a
kill
good
him
point.
physically, she was trying to like kill what he had seen and like the knowledge of it and
Yeah.
like, cleanse him.
Turn him into an animal so he can't share it. He can't tell anybody.
It kind of appears to be like if we're going like baptism, it kind of like the opposite of baptism is like when like she splashed the water and like he was turned into like a deer. It says he's like, it's like, what should he do? Like where should he go?
Ooh.
And it's like shame prevents the one and fear the other.
Yes, dude, Timor and Pudor.
Like,
I had that up. It's such a good line, dude.
Yeah. So
Oh,
like,
man.
Like it's kind of like baptism. Oh, it's like everyone's like when you get baptized, usually like the pastor, whoever's baptized, you like ask of the congregation like, will you keep them like safe, kind of protected?
Yeah.
And it's like the total opposite.
Total
It's
opposite.
Like, now he has like shame, fear.
Yes.
He probably knows he's gonna die.
Yes.
He's a deer.
Yes.
And he's like, it's like
Oh,
it
man.
opened up his mind in that way.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a really good point because it does feel exactly like the opposite.
Another thing I just wanted to add with that is that like the way that she splashed water onto him was in a way that she was sort of repulsed by him to draw him away, whereas like baptism is supposed to bring you closer to God and like draw you into like a deeper state of love.
Yes. Yeah. And you're right. Everything about what is in there is opposite than our baptism. it's just interesting. The main reason why because you guys are making great points. You read this story, does not feel holy. It does not feel holy. It feels violent. That's why even the gods disagree and all that kind of stuff. So this is a great point to stop. And I hope that I keep my points in line here. One of the things that I noticed with what you just said, Lorelai, is the amount of shame that kind of follows these incidents with Diana. Because she's this goddess of purity, virginity, maidenhood, things untouched by like the most intimate sins, relational sins, all that kind of stuff, whether it be by sight, touch, marriage, everything like that. But it seems like remember, Callisto, she was banished because of her shame. And there was no acceptance in. So Artemis has this wild, she is almost the opposite. She kind of resembles, this perfect bride, this untouched bride that is like forever waiting, never giving in to a relationship, forever waiting and being pure on her own accord. So her holiness, like you were talking about before, her holiness is hers. She has it because she's never going to enter into a depth of relationship of consummate agreement with something else. She is simply her own. And when things resemble or bring in the idea of her not being as pure as she wants to be, her immediate reaction, both times we've seen her, is to get rid of that thing. Not forgive the scenario, but to get rid of the thing that resembles impurity in her eyes. So for me, the way I took it this way, because Bethany, you're exactly right to call me out on that. You are 100% right to call me out. But the reason why my heart is going towards the baptism thing is just because, and I'll go back a second, ceremonial washing in the ancient world was real in every culture. Being washed before you do certain things is similar in every single civilization and culture. The reasons why are different, and what it resembles is different. But of course, the main theme is impure to pure. And so it's interesting how the ceremonial washing in the eyes of people who would worship Artemis, Diana, at a place like Ephesus, Ephesians, was that their ceremonial washing, their cleansing, they were used to hearing things really are shameful. And you have to hold on to your shame. You are shame. And then, and you can get into how that goes with that worship. But the fact that they base their washing on recognizing shame and kind of keeping it there. Ooh, y'all know what that just kind of reminded me of? Have y'all ever watched Game of Thrones?
Oh my god, I wish Nate was here today. Nate loves it.
Do you know what episode I'm talking about?
No, I've never seen it. But Nate
The worship, it's literally the priesthood in Game of Thrones. It just shows the opposite. Like you're saying, it's literally the opposite of our baptism. Dude. Oh my gosh, man. I didn't think about this. First of all, watch Game of Thrones one day. Stop at season 6. Watch it through season 6 and you can just stop and then read the books whenever they come out. But there's a scene where this woman, her name is Cersei, which is a mythological character. She's like exposed for like all of these things that she's done, like incest with her brother. Dude, it's like reading mythology. You watch Game of Thrones, it's like mythology. It's disgusting. Like incest, all these horrible things. And she actually like needs something. She needs the support of the priesthood in King's Landing, which is like the main capital of the whole place. She needs the priesthood on her side. And they say the only way we are going to let you be on our side is if you let us strip you down completely naked. We're going to cut all your hair. You'll have nothing to cover you. You're going to walk through the entire street. And dude, the show takes you through every single step. Every single step. And the whole time, people are throwing everything at her. On her face, on her body. It's in her hair. They'll like hit her with things. And by the end, she's just drenched. And I know, opposite. But you've got to hear what I'm saying. Because she did that, then according to the religion of that made up place, still, that idea, that human idea of you have now been washed. You have now been completely emptied. And now you're forgiven. And then she was invited in to be a part. So listen, here's my thing. I know it feels exactly opposite. But this is, once again, it's mythology bringing out their philosophy, their state of thought, about the way that they saw everything, their relationship with the gods, and who they are in relationship to the God's holiness. And you're right to call out the inconsistencies of holiness with the gods and what they do, what humans do, and what they do to humans as a result, because that's what we're going to get into here. But the main theme, the one thing that I'll remind you of, baptism is of course a celebration, but you must know the root of baptism is not, I'm all good now. The root of baptism is, I am dead. That's what baptism is. And that's a hard thing for people to understand. I am now dead. These things that I had in me before do not live anymore. It's Christ now, his holiness, one that he is purely holding, and he does not drop. He showed me that this is the way to go. If I don't die, I can't be risen completely again. Not in body. I was born in the body first. But I'm going to die to myself and my body and be raised again in a spiritual life. There's no raising in Actaeon's story.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it's a killing, you know?
Yeah, this is simply a sacrifice the way that the Old Testament was. Sacrifice ends in death so that we can be purified. Before it was, there was no baptism before. Before it was, you grab the horns of the bull, you put your head on its head, and you say everything that you've done wrong, the things that you want forgiveness for. You clock foreheads with that thing, and you hold it there for a long time. You put it on there, the priest pulls your impurity onto the animal, and then you kill the animal, and everybody watches it die, and its blood washes you. Sometimes they would put the blood on you. That was how you were forgiven before. That's why baptism is so significant. It's because it resembles that nothing else has to die. Something's already died. Actaeon had to die. Callisto had to be changed. Banished, gone. Can't be here in my Holy of Holies anymore. You got to get out. You missed your chance. Was it God's fault? Don't care. You resemble impurity. You're not here. So we have a difference here, and we're going to continue on this. All right, any more things? Because you guys are great. Anything else? I saw you kind of frown a little bit. Please let me know. Please let me know. I want to know more. If you have anything, I want to know. And I'm not doing it just to T-ball you up and then just back. I hope that's not what you feel I'm doing to you. I just want you to know why I taught it that way, because that's a great thing to bring up. Because you read it resembles no holiness that we've ever learned in school or whatever in church. All right, so this is of course the next little bit that you guys saw when you haven't read this. So I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to do this thing where I give you guys Semele, the story of Semele. All right, I'm going to give you my thoughts. Make sure you wash my thoughts out. Baptizers, wash your thoughts out. All right, read it again, face value. This is your story tonight. I'm just showing you where I went. And then you can come back in with points of disagreement tomorrow, please. All right, and if you'd like, just ask me. Be like, Mr. I'd actually just want to tell you what I thought. Please don't tell me what you think afterwards. I just want you to know my thoughts. Because teachers do that to you all the time. We give you our thoughts and we're like, yeah, look at, No, if you want me to just listen to your thoughts and you want everybody else to just listen to your thoughts, I know it kind of sounds like a little T-ball, but if that's something that you need tomorrow, just to share, maybe that sounds weird. Does that feel uncomfortable to anybody? I just want y'all to know I'm not here to just give you my thoughts on things and tell you what's right. All right, you guys have a true reaction to this. Just make sure, and this is going to feel weird, but make sure you're praying over what you're thinking about in these myths. These are dark stories. Don't let the darkness of these stories be the only thing that fill your spirit. The Lord is with you as you read these things. This is a real thing. These stories are meant to touch your spirit. All right? They're not inerrant. They're meant to get you. All stories meant to touch your spirit. That's why the Lord gave his son to us in one.
Wait, are we gonna be here tomorrow?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, great call. But yeah, I'll let you guys know. Everything's going to be updated, so don't stress or anything. But this is the next story. Semele is the next story. Okay, so here we go. Juno was glad. We know that Juno, in her holiness, she resembles a hatred of unholy things, unholy people. And of course, her main focus is the unholiness of her own husband's infidelity. All right, the lack of companionship that she actually gets and receives from him as his wife. All right, just the brokenness of that. You gotta keep yourself open to how hopeless it is, even from the top gods. All right, so hold on. So here we go. Yep, I told you guys this yesterday, She did hate Agenor's family because Europa, his daughter, had conceived and been taken by Jupiter. But she was gone. She was completely gone. Jupiter hid her away. All right, so now it's transferred from Europa, that descendant of Agenor, to another descendant of Agenor, Cadmus, who did nothing wrong. All right, he did nothing wrong. But we have now Cadmus's daughter. All right, and all of a sudden we're just dropped. This is in media res. Do y'all remember that phrase, in media res? Where the next story just starts right in the middle of things? Guess what? Jupiter is already, in the meantime of the Actaeon story, gone and gotten another one of Cadmus's kids pregnant. So Actaeon was one of Cadmus's sons. Y'all remember that phrase from Ovid before? It's like, you had so many kids, so many daughters, so many grandchildren. Thebes was founded and you were happy in your exile. Y'all remember that little paragraph before? Already had a terrible Actaeon story. Here we go. One of his kids is already pregnant by Jupiter.
Are these kids or grandkids?
They're just descendants. That's a good. I think that this is his daughter.
Okay.
I think that it is, but that's a good point. I actually am not sure. All right. She's pregnant already with the seed of mighty Jove. All right. And one of the most common themes of any epic writing, any ancient writing you guys will ever encounter is the interference of the divine, the divine coming down and interfering with the lives of the mortals. All right, so I'm giving this to you in pretty big chunks. I'm kind of walking you through how the story goes, especially at the beginning. We may not get through all of it. That's okay. But here's the picture that's most famously associated with this story. This is the Semele picture. All right, the Semele painting. So here we go. Where we're going to start here is with the idea of jealousy. We're starting, the transition between Actaeon and Semele is very smoothly written in poetry by Ovid. It's very smooth. It goes straight from, the argument of Actaeon, Juno not even caring about the argument because she's already so angry about this. All right, she just wants bad things to happen to this family line. All right, and this is such an interesting way to put it. I have 3 little bullet points here that just kind of break down what she says. Her little, what's it called when people talk to themselves in a play?
Monologue?
Yeah, monologue. Her little monologue, her little aside, talking to the audience kind of thing. What in truth have I gained from frequent reproaches? All right, so that line is talking about what have I gained from going to Jupiter and complaining to him? What's worked when I've gone to Jupiter to express my grievances with his infidelity? What's worked? Nothing. All right? I must attack her. Classic. Never done that before. I think she is content with her secret. And the injury to my marriage will be brief. So that is another thing. The holiness of God and of all the gods is their eternal life. What is this little instance in my eternity? It's not going to work to argue with my husband. I just need to take my anger out, my revenge out on something that will eventually pass away and my eternity will carry on. Yo. That's an insane theology. That is an insane theology. To write your nurturing divinity in a way that has things that it hates you for, and it's just ready for you to die and be done with it. All right, that's insane. But she has conceived, and that damages me. This is a real thing. This child now has something. What is this child? Think about it. What is this child now? At the least, what is this child? Demigod. At the least, it's a demigod. All right, so there's a little bit of a hair there. It's not that she just lay with Jupiter. She conceived with Jupiter. And you guys, we're going to talk about
Wait, but also Cadmus's wife is God, right? So
She is.
more than him.
Yeah, exactly right. So there is now something already in their bloodline that's already divine. Something in them already carries them into the royalty of eternity, which is so sick. All right? And makes her crime visible in her swollen belly. Same kind of line for me as I was reading that. I was reminded of the Callisto thing. Her swollen belly being the image of shame for Artemis. Here it's the image of hatred for Juno. Interesting. Interesting how the eternity, the eternal passing on. Okay, I'll give it a little bit. And it's because I'm having kids. You get married and you have a kid, your life extent. Like, that's like a really weird thing to say. It's not. It's real. I don't care, dude. Your life is now longer. Do you see what I mean when I say that? You are in your children. As long as your children live, you're there. You go. That's why the bloodline in all ancient history, all ancient civilization, literature, everything is so significant. Those who are the most blessed are those whose life carries on. That's why the promise to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob is so insane. Hey, 1 kid would be cool, 2 kids would be cool. Abraham, I know you're having trouble having kids, conceiving. I'm going to give you so many you can't count them. That's an insane promise. That means your life will be on earth forever. That's why the Jews are called the children of Abraham still today. He's the father of the Jews. And his significance and importance and role in their life still somehow has a part to play. That's why legacy is so insane. And that's why the number one thing that breaks apart countries is infidelity in the marriage, is the leaving behind of children. It's the lack of staying connected with your own blood. And that's what we have here. This is a threat to Juno herself, a divinity, because of the eternity that humans are now going to have in their blood. So here we go. This next little bit, this is a really, really famous one. She knows. She knows. She saw it. She knows this happened. It's a beautiful picture, man. All right, you can't really see it right now super well, but if you go back through the slides on the review thing, you can check it out. It's a beautiful picture. So she says something so bad. Let me go a little quicker. And she wants, Semele wants, she has a desire. Yo, this is crazy. She wants what I have barely achieved. She wants to be confirmed as the mother of Jupiter's child. What I have barely achieved. Juno, a divinity with the Father God, is jealous of the relationship that he has with people on earth. So great is her faith in her beauty. So this is once again one of the most common Greek themes of Juno, of Hera, is that she hates it when people think that people are prettier than her. Her vanity is insane. Insane. All right? I will render that faith hollow. That's her goal. I will render that faith in her beauty and in all of this, that her beauty is good enough for Jupiter. I'll render that hollow. I am not, and this is what she promises, I am not Saturnia if she does not plunge into the Stygian water. It doesn't sound like one, she doesn't say word for word, I swear on the river Styx. But these are where the oaths of the divine lie. They lie in those waters. Those waters. Now I'm going to point at you every time. All right, those waters resemble a promise. Overwhelmed by Jove himself. Whoa. Whoa. Has anybody ever heard this story before? Sad story. All right, so here we go. This is where the deception happens. She comes down disguised. Comes down disguised as Beroe. Beroe is Semele's handmaiden. And they just start with what all women do. It's like the way that they write it, the way that he writes it, you'll see. They start as all their conversations go, as they want to go, as they naturally go, to gossip. Talking about the other people that aren't there. All right, so it went natural. This is easy for Hera. All right, she's a killer at this. She slays at this. And she tells him, oh, baby, here we go. She tells him, he needs to prove it. Are you sure that's Juno? The way she words it, you'll see it as you read it. It's crazy. So many dudes claim to be God. So many dudes claim to have this divinity in them. You just saw him as a man, right? Does anybody know the rules of divinity? You can't see all of divinity. If you see all of divinity, you die. That's kind of what we talked about with Diana. It was different, but it was the same. So she all of a sudden has this immediate seed of doubt planted in her head. Like, oh, it's not what I thought it was. This should sound familiar to you, I think. This is not what I thought it was. So she follows. She trusts Beroe. So obviously this has some good literary character connection to kind of make it like, oh, well, naturally she's known her since she was a little girl. So she listens to her, and she doubts. And then the next thing Hera says is something along these lines. something along these lines. If you really are close to Jupiter, then you should be able to receive him the way that Juno receives him in bed. That intimacy should be exactly like his queen, which does a lot of things. But I'm just going to leave it at that before we go on a little bit. All right, so here we go. This is now where things happen. She goes to Jupiter. Dang, I forgot my box. All right, so here we go. She goes to Jupiter. Nothing, and she says, "I have something. I need a wish." It doesn't even say what she says. It just goes into she asked Jupiter for something that, whatever she wants. And Jupiter is just having such a great time in this affair that he says something crazy, dog. He says nothing will be refused. And this should remind you of another story we had. Nothing will be refused. And so that you may believe it more firmly, I swear it by the Stygian torrent that that is the divine conscience, the fear. It's so interesting what you're talking about. That is the thing that they fear the most, is the depths, the waters of death. Even the gods are afraid of it. It's sick, dude. Come on, man. All right? They are afraid of that water, the conscience, the fear, and God of all the gods. What? The water is the God of the gods, dude? That's so nasty good, dude. All right, here we go. So here we go. This is one of the dang, my boxes, dude. This is one of the most famous pictures of this. This is Semele, and then Jupiter, you guys can tell, is going to take on my new form, my final form. All right. So here we go. She's so pleased that he swears it to her like this. This promise, this oath is so strong. All right. Too successful. I love the way he writes. And doomed to be undone by her lover's indulgence. Whoa. Interesting take. This intimacy, this level of closeness is a dooming thing. Interesting. We can talk about that. As Saturnia is used to your embrace, this is what she says. As Saturnia, Juno, is used to your embrace, when you enter into the pact of Venus, love, when you enter into that pact, that act, give yourself to me like that. The god would have stopped her lips as she spoke, but her voice, her words, had already rushed into the air. All right? I love the way that Ovid puts a weight and a reality to the words that are spoken, the things that are asked for, the agreements that want to be made. We don't think about words like that very often. Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting on the thing of stopping her from speaking, because I feel like that's a theme with shit. Like she said, I feel like that's a theme that showed up so much from people training animals so that they can't speak.
Yes. Oh, dude.
Or
dude.
Hera taking away Callisto's voice.
Yes, dude. Oh. Dude, keep a note of that, man. Keep a track of that. That's very good. So here you go. Then we have Revelation. All right? And this is where I'm gonna stop, because I want y'all to pick up this next one. He tries. It goes through a bunch of lists.
Again, when the bell rings, all upper school students will be going to advisory groups for attendance.
He
Please
takes
wait
his
for further directions before you dismiss. And middle school has chapel in the.
I'll talk about it in a second. He takes his strongest lightning bolts, the ones that the Cyclopses have made, and he puts those aside. He tries to put those aside. He tries to make his wind. He tries as hard as he can to contain even his own glory and his immensity, so that it may keep her alive. All right, but she doesn't even last a sentence, dude. He shows up. The presence of God shows up, and not even for a second does she last. All right, it's pretty awesome, pretty scary moment. All right, but yeah. All right, y'all can read that. I'm pretty sure we're not gonna have school tomorrow, but y'all read that one, and if you want to, you can continue to read what.
You think they'll cancel school? Probably.
I think so, just because some schools have already done it, the private school, but it's all right.
Schools have 35 miles per hour.
Yeah, because usually all those schools they can't